Hello and welcome guys. This is just going to be a quick little video to help you find your composite area, or I should say area of composite shapes. Alright, so let's get into it. So for this exercise, there's three different basic shapes you need to be able to find the area of. That's the square, rectangle, and triangle. If you can find the area of these three shapes, then you can actually find the area of any of these composite figures. Right, so firstly, how do we actually find the area of just a basic rectangle? So the formula you guys have been using is length times width, but ultimately all you need to do is just multiply, the length times the width. And it doesn't matter if you go 6 times 4 or 4 times 6, it won't make a difference. You're going to end up with the same area. Okay, so for rectangles, you just times the two numbers together, the length and the width, and you get the area. For squares are done exactly the same way, right? A square is just a type of rectangle where the length and width happens to be equal. Because of that, you sometimes see the formula written, simplified, as in like side times side, but ultimately you can view it as just another type of rectangle. If you want to find the area of this square, it's 9 across and 9 up, right? The length times the width, times it together, and you end up getting the area of a square. So for rectangles, you times the length and the width. Squares, you do exactly the same. For triangles, a triangle is just half a rectangle, right? So we do exactly what we've been doing with the rectangle. You need to multiply the two sides. It's 10 across and it goes up. It has a height of 8. But then a triangle is half a rectangle. So that's why there's that half in front of the formula up here. Because if you had the full rectangle, a triangle is just half that size. So that's why we have the half there. Most people prefer to just put it divided by 2 at the end, but it's totally up to you. You've got 10 times 8, which is 80. Half that. This triangle here would have an area of 40 square centimeters. All right, so if you know how to find the area of those basic three shapes, no matter which way you do it, you're ready to move on to composite shapes. So composite shapes is just a couple different ones of these basic shapes that have been combined or added together. E.g., there's an example of a rectangle and triangle being combined at the top here. So how do we find the area of these? Well, your first job is to take the composite shape and just split it into basic shapes. We know how to find the area of basic shapes, right? We know how to find the area of these shapes. So when you have something that looks a bit weird, what you're going to do is start by just breaking it up into the two different basic shapes that we already know. Sometimes there might be 3 or 4 of these different basic shapes, but just go through and split them up. Once you've split it up, so there's only basic shapes, your next step is to then just calculate the area of each one. So just go through each basic shape one at a time and just find the area, just like we did here with triangles, squares, and rectangles. So you find the area of each basic shape, and then the final step is just to add them all together to get the total area. So let's look and see how that works with some examples. Let's look at this first one here. So we've got ourselves a composite shape. What sort of shapes do we have? So first step, we've got to split it up into some basic shapes, right? There's a couple different ways you could split it. You could go down. Or what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go across. It does not make a difference. You get the same answer either way. But I'm going to split it this way to turn this composite shape into just 2 basic rectangles. All right, now we just need to go ahead and find the area of each one. Now, this is probably the trickiest part of the composites, because for this diagram here and for the next examples, I've actually given you slightly challenging ones because some of the lengths haven't been given to us. If we look at this first rectangle at the top, We want to find the area of that rectangle. We know how to find the area of a rectangle. It's the length times the width. So we have to times the two numbers together. Well, we know the rectangle goes 3 across, but we don't know how far down it goes. We're missing this second number here. So when we go ahead and try and find the area, we're actually missing one of those numbers. Now, how do we work that out? Well, again, this is the tricky part. We're talking about the upwards direction, so you look at our two upwards distances in the diagram. You can see over here on the left, 12 centimeters is the distance all the way from the bottom right up to the top of the diagram. That's 12 centimeters in total. And if you look over on the right hand side, you can see the bottom part of that is 7 centimeters. The distance from the bottom to the top over here is 7 centimeters. So then the question is, well, what's remaining for this part here? We know it's 12 centimeters to get right to the top. And if the first part is 7 centimeters, then the remainder is 5 centimeters. Hopefully that makes sense. But the 5 there plus the 7 will give you the total 12 centimeters. So we can now find the area of this rectangle. It was 5 times 3. Ultimately, you end up with 15 square centimeters. That's for this first rectangle. If we go ahead and find the area of this bottom rectangle, again, nice and simple. You just got to multiply the two numbers. Okay, so in this case, how far across does it go? Well, it's going to be 12 centimeters here. We know that because it has the double dashes on the side, and so did the 12 centimeters over here. Any side that has those double dashes will be the same length. So we know it's 12 centimeters across. And how far up does this rectangle go? Well, we can see over here it goes up 7. So the area of this rectangle wasn't too bad. We actually knew the length of both of those sides. It's 12 times 7. I believe you end up with 84 square centimeters, meaning that our total area of the composite shape is just going to be the little square plus, the little rectangle plus the big rectangle, giving you 99 square centimeters. That's the area of this composite shape. All right, let's move on and have a look at another one. Now, this one here involves, again, two basic shapes that have been combined to make a composite. So, how are we going to split this up into just having basic shapes? Again, probably the most natural decision is to cut across, turning it into what is a square and a triangle. All right, again, we've got some sides that are equal to each other. The double dashes over here tells us that's 9 centimeters. So this would be 9 centimeters, and this side over here would be 9 centimeters as well. All right, so let's go ahead and find the area of the square first, probably because that's going to be the easier of the two. Okay, how do you find the area of a square? The length times the width. And so you get the area of the square. Now let's move on and find the area of the triangle. Okay, so to find the area of a triangle, you got the base times the height, and then we have to halve it. Well, we know the base is going to be 9 centimeters. What's going to be the height of our triangle? Well, again, now in this case, they haven't told us what the height is, so we're going to have to, again, look at these vertical distances. From this point up to here, you've got 9 centimeters, right? It's 9 centimeters to get from here up to this point. But the total height from the bottom to the very tip is 17 centimeters. We can use these two numbers to work out how tall just the triangle is. So if it's 9 centimeters to get up to this point, what's left over to get us right up to the 17? And it's going to be an extra 8 centimeters, This triangle, from the bottom of the triangle to the tip, is 8 centimeters tall. So our area for the triangle is the length. It goes across 9 centimeters across the bottom. It goes up 8 centimeters. And because it's a triangle, always with triangles, you divide by 2. Type this in your calculator or work it out. 9 times 8, and then halve that number. I believe what do you end up with in the end? I believe it's 36 square centimeters. So once you found the area of the square, you found the area of the triangle, you can then combine them, in other words, add them together to get the total area, right? 80 plus 30 will end up giving you 110. Add the 1 and the 6, 117 square centimeters. And just to finish this off, one more composite shape. This one here, I sort of went for as hard as I could. We've now got 3. To split this up into basic shapes, we're actually going to need 3 different basic shapes. I can see the little triangle at the top. And I've got 2 rectangles here. So there's a rectangle down here. There's a tall rectangle that goes up. And there's the little triangle at the top. All right, so we want to find the area of this. Let's go ahead and work it out. The first rectangle is pretty basic, right? How do you find the area of a rectangle? The length times the width. We had both of those numbers. You type it in. You get your first area. Right on. Okay, so we're going through this. We're starting to work out parts already. The next part to work out is going to be the area of this tall rectangle. Well, I can see it goes up 13 centimeters. How far across does it go? Well, in this case, we're going to have to work it out because it's not given to us, right? So we're trying to work out this sideways part. How wide is this particular rectangle? Okay, so we know the total distance across is 13 centimeters because of the double dashes. This side down the bottom is the same as this side up here. So it's 13 centimeters across the whole way. And we can see from this point to this point was 9 centimeters. So then the question becomes, what's the missing part to get up to 13 centimeters, the whole distance across? And in this case, what's missing from 9 to make 13? It's an extra 4 centimeters. So it's probably a little bit messy putting it there. I'll put it down the bottom. And hopefully you guys will know what I mean. This width of the tall rectangle, right? We're trying to find the area of this tall rectangle. And it was 13 centimeters long and 4 centimeters wide. So multiplying them, 4 lots of 10 is 40, plus the 4 lots of 3 gives you 12. So 40 plus 12, you end up getting your area. Of course, if you struggle a bit with your multiplications, there's nothing wrong with you just writing it out like this and just working it out the normal way you did in primary school. Okay, so we've found the area of the 2 rectangles. The final area we need to find of our basic shapes is the little triangle at the top. So firstly, we've now worked out that it's 4 centimeters across. Now, how tall is this triangle? Well, what is the distance from the bottom to the very top? And to get that, what I would need to do is combine the 4 centimeters over here with the 12 that's here. 12 plus 4 gets you right to the very top. It was 16 centimeters. Now, of course, our triangle's not 16 centimeters tall. The triangle's only very small. What's the actual height of the triangle? Well, if it's 16 centimeters from the bottom to the very tip, and we know that, let me do this in orange, this part is 13 centimeters, what's going to be left over for this tiny little part here? In other words, the height. Well, 13 centimeters, we know it's 16 right to the very top, so there's an extra 3 centimeters there. This triangle, the little triangle at the top, it goes across 4, goes up 3, and because it's a triangle, we always have to halve the answer. So 4 times 3 gives you 12. A half of 12 is 6 square centimeters. So we've found the area of the 3 basic shapes which made up this composite figure. So now we can go ahead and find the total area of our composite shape. All we have to do is combine the 2 rectangles and the size of the little triangle at the top. And again, just add them all together. If you're adding up, so me personally, I would add up the 10s. You got 30 plus 50, that gives you 80. 6 plus 6 is 12, so now you're up to 92. Plus the extra 2, you end up with 94 square centimeters. But again, if you don't like adding up in that way, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you just taking a moment to just write it out like a normal algorithm you would in primary school and just add it up that way, right? What's important isn't how quick you are, it's just that you're being accurate. And that's how you find the area of composite shapes. Okay, so just to recap, you split the composite shape up into its basic shapes, find the area of each one separately, add them together at the end. The only real trick is finding sometimes there are lengths that are missing, right? So whether you're looking at the height or the sideways part, that's probably the trickiest part of this. But with practice, you'll get better. All right, best of luck. Hopefully this helps, and I'll see you next time.